Welcome to Sib Spot. Today's Reddit stories are from Entitled Parents. Story 1 is by Money Photograph 4176. My entitled mom wants me to pay my creep stepbrother's student debt. I'm a 29 female and I have an older stepbrother, Chris, who's 42, who has been a nightmare since the day my mom married his dad. Let me give a bit of background. Our parents married when I was 4 and he was 17. Both our parents were widowed. After their wedding, we moved to the US since my mom had American citizenship through marriage. I was born in the US too, but after my dad died when I was 1, my mom and I moved back to Colombia. Stepdad got his residency through marriage, and my stepbrother because he was a minor. My stepbrother wasn't a big fan of me. My only memories of him are constant bullying. He would be left in charge of me since he was studying locally and lived with my parents, but mostly his babysitting really meant things like locking me in the guest bathroom or the shed outside. He would steal my lunchbox whenever he was the one who dropped me off at school. He even began to harm my pets. I have an old cat that's been with me for almost 22 years. He tried more than once to run her over with his car. My parents never believed any of it. He's the classic golden child. My mom absolutely wants a son instead of a daughter, so my stepbrother took priority over me. The bullying just kept getting worse and creepier. He had this long key for the bathroom. The door was designed in case it got locked by accident. One could open it by inserting a long sticker key through a small hole on the outside. He would use it to walk in on me showering. My underwear would disappear sometimes, and I know for a fact it was him. He also started taking pictures of me sleeping. One night I woke up to him taking care of himself next to me while I slept. I yelled, obviously. My parents came over, but he wasn't in trouble. I was tempting him. I was 14 when this happened. He was 27. No one helped me, and he got bolder until he did something I'm still in therapy for when I was 16. It got to a point where I called my biological half-brother Sam, 48, and son of my biological father's first wife, to see if I could live with him and his wife Sandy during my last 2 years of high school. When Sam found out what was going on, he confronted my mom. My mom didn't care and just told him to take me so long as he never asked her for money. Done and done. My brother and his wife became my legal guardians and took me in with my cat and my old family dog since I didn't trust leaving any creatures with Chris around. My parents never checked on me. My extended family from my father's side knew what happened and they immediately got all together to ensure that I could finish school well and go to college. I don't know my maternal family at all. Thanks to my paternal family, including Sam's mother and her family, I got a bachelor's and a master's, no student debt, and work as a nurse practitioner. I still live with Sam, his wife, and their 2 kids, and I pay a small rent. Neither Sam nor his wife expect me to pay anything, but that's the least I can do for these people who have taken care of me for 13 years. For anyone wondering why I didn't move, it's incredibly expensive where I live, and Sam insisted I stay with them until I save enough to buy my own home. Things seemed okay until my mom messaged me recently. She had not messaged me since I was 18 when she told me she no longer had any responsibility to me. In this message, she sounded overly friendly, telling me how she missed me and asking how I was doing. I was a bit creeped out, but decided to be nice, telling her about what I had done since leaving her care. She seemed very interested since apparently she knew I was a nurse, but not what kind I was. She began asking me about my salary. I didn't tell her anything about it, but that it was enough to pay the bills. My mom then began texting about Chris and how he was barely able to make any money due to his student loan debt. Apparently, Chris never finished a degree, jumping from career to career. He's now working in my stepdad's used car business as a salesman, but most of his pay went to pay the substantial student debt he got over the year. I told my mom how sorry I was that Chris was having a hard time and wished him luck. That's when my mom finally got to what she wanted. She texted me I needed to pay his student debt so he could finally begin to make the money he deserves like the man of the family. I turned off my phone. When I got home, Sam was surprised since I was usually the last to arrive. Sandy wasn't home yet. I told Sam what happened and showed him my mom's text messages. I don't think I've ever seen Sam this angry. He told me to block my mom, stepdad, and Chris if I had not done so yet. After talking with Sam and Sandy, I called my boss to ask the next day and one after off. This gave me a 4-day weekend, including the days I'm normally off shift. My boss was more than okay with this and told me to just take it easy and let her know if she could help. This backfired because the next day my mom and Chris decided to come to Sam's house and speak with me. I was alone since Sam and Sandy went to work and the kids were at school. I immediately called Sam and told him what was going on. He told me not to open the door and that he was on his way. My mom spent the whole time screaming that I owed them for raising me and that my sweet brother deserved the money. Chris was going around trying to find a window or door unlocked. There wasn't any since the windows have safety bars and the only other door is in the closed garage and one in the yard. The yard one was locked and just in case I locked the one in the garage. I won't post what he called me when he saw me from one of the windows, but basically, he pretty much told me they should have thrown me away when I was a baby, since I grew up to be a bee. He punched in one of the windows so hard he actually cracked the glass. Eventually, he gave up and went back to the front door, clearly trying to kick it down. I don't have anything to worry about. The door was a security door, but I was still very scared. Between yelling, threatening, pleading, and insults, I finally heard Sam screaming to them to get lost. I only saw things from the window. Sam pretty much dragged them both off the porch. They got to a point I couldn't hear, but I saw my mom and Chris pale and looked scared before they pretty much ran to their car and drove off way past the legal speed limit. Sam came in a bit after and immediately went full overprotective brother mode, asking me if I was okay. He kept saying sorry and hugging me. Sandy arrived almost immediately after, and she looked like she was about to commit a felony. Apparently, Sam threatened him with filing charges for what he did to me when I was 16. My brother's ace, my stepdad, was willing to testify against his own son. That seemed enough to get Chris off our backs, but not my mom. Since then, it's been 3 days and my mom has sent texts, called nonstop with various numbers, and rallied a group of people who are supposedly my maternal family to harass me for money. She claims that money should legally be hers since she's my mother, that it's my late father's missed child support. Sam is helping me find a lawyer to get a restraining order on my mom, and I plan to take my stepdad's offer to testify by pressing charges against Chris. I can't say I can forgive him for not stopping his son, but I appreciate that he's at least trying. I don't know the details, but Chris did something to a relative of his dead, and since then they had a really bad fallout. I took my boss's offer and will be on vacation for a few more days. But here it is. My vacation days are getting eaten up and my therapist might need a therapist after. Thankfully, my dark sense of humor and supportive paternal family are keeping me somewhat sane. Absolutely one of the craziest stories that I've ever heard. I've done over 300 videos and I can say for certain, your mother is the worst one I've ever encountered. Ever. And your stepbrother should be in prison. He is entirely a sex offender against a minor and somebody who's supposedly related to him. This guy has some serious problems. He actually sounds dangerous. All I'm gonna say is good luck with that. Holy crap. Down in the comments is one piece of advice posted by somebody named Lifted Cross. Previous banker here, this right here is absolutely essential. Call all 3 of the credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and place a freeze on your credit so that if anyone tries to take out a loan in your name, the creditors must call you first, and your credit would have to be unfrozen for anything to happen. The fact is, people try to commit fraud, including in the names of their children or otherwise. It's easy to freeze credit and would keep them from trying to take out a debt under your name fraudulently, and can land them in jail if the bankers are actually paying attention to the huge red flags. Our next story is by Ultraviolet111. Entitled Mom Brought Her Young Daughter to Sexy Adult Dance Class. I'm part of a community group that hosts dance classes for adults. Our whole premise is to provide a space for adults to learn dances on a casual basis and have fun. The songs we dance to often have explicit lyrics, and some of the choreography can be suggestive. Recently, someone brought their young daughter to sit in at a heels class. The song was explicit and the moves were very sexy, and I immediately felt very uncomfortable dancing in front of this child. Not only that, but the child was causing distractions by dropping her metal water bottle, pacing around and going up and hugging her mom during class. By the end, she was even copying the sexy moves we were doing. Yuck. Our group is very unofficial and laid back, and we've never had this situation come up even though we advertise as adult and 18+ classes. So afterward, we sent her a private message saying, "Hey, we would love for you to keep coming to class going forward, but we're not going to allow kids." She was livid. She called us inconsiderate and accused us of discriminating against single moms. She says she can't do childcare because of her daughter's medical condition. She's not worried about her daughter hearing explicit lyrics, so it shouldn't be an issue. Okay, good for you. But that's not the only issue. If we allow one person to bring their kid, then everybody can bring their kid, and it becomes a childcare issue. It's also clearly an adult environment, and children just don't mesh in adult environments. The same way you wouldn't bring a child to a bar, it's just awkward for everybody else. So entitled. I don't know why some women, when you tell them don't bring your kid to this adult place, like you're a business owner telling you don't bring your kid to this adult place, they immediately go on the offensive and act like you're treating them like they're a bad parent. I know it's not easy to get childcare, but you kinda have to if you want to take a class like this. Our next story is by Spooky Beagle. My dad wants me to name my baby after him. I'm back. Those that have read my previous post here know how weird and toxic my parents are. Yet I remain in contact with them because my 33-year-old brother is still living with them and I can't bring myself to cut complete contact with them. I have dwindling hope that he will escape them or even wants to. Well, I, 29 female, am pregnant with my surprise baby, number 3. They asked me if I'm going to find out the gender. I have found out with my 2 others, why not this one? I don't even know why they would ask, but okay, I told them we would. My mom barely hid her scoff. She's so against finding out gender before birth. I don't know why she's so stuck on it. Whatever. So my dad's response is, well, you know, if it's another boy, why don't you name him my name? Okay, 1, I don't like my dad's name. It's not common, but not rare. It's just weird. Like Billiam, Blaine, Earl, or Melvin. Not saying these are bad names. If you like them, cool. 2, I have this weird thing about naming my kids after living friends or relatives. Especially close ones. I grew up with 2 cousins who had the same name and my brother is named after a living uncle. It was just confusing. 3, my husband and I also have this opinion that if you feel the need to ask someone to name their kid after you, then you really aren't worthy of that honor. I have explained the first 2 reasons to my dad, but he doesn't seem to want to let it go. And they wonder why I don't call often. I think you should show this list to your dad and tell him the answer is no for these reasons. There is no debating it. You're not going to get stuck on it. We're picking the name. That's all there is to it. Like, what's the worst thing that can happen here? He gets mad at you? You said at the start of this that there's a toxic relationship with your parents already, so who cares if he doesn't like it? Our stories for today have come to a close. I'm still kind of reeling from the first story. To say the very least, that first one, part of it was really gross. Hopefully you guys who listen in, like, you know that I remove swear words and stuff. I don't know what to do with intensely disgusting descriptions that don't include any swear words. And they're important for the story's details. But how do you navigate around saying things like that are shocking, honestly? Hopefully nobody is offended by that very descriptive paragraph. But anyway, our stories for today have come to a close. Until we meet again, have a light and breezy day.